So here is a legitimate observation about the need to relieve ourselves from socialization, from what you might call the membrane of invisible instructions that are imposed upon us by our cultural operating system. We're kind of all swimming in an invisible fluid that permeates and informs our behavior. An example would be the set of basic rules or principles that are applicable in a shared environment. Like when you're out in public interacting with other people, there's a set of sort of codes of behavior, right? There's a set of ethical guidelines, right? There's a way we're meant to act when we're in public, and that's fine. But what I think often happens is that the weight of those instructions, the weight of that socialization gets embedded really deep, right? The social and cultural operating system that surrounds us can be insidious in its capacity to penetrate our being. And I think from that penetration, our neurosis emerges. Sigmund Freud, the psychologist, famously talked about the id, the ego, and the superego. The id is, of course, your sort of virginal and raw personality and temperament. You see something that you want, you make a grasp for it. You respond to the world in a dynamic way without inhibition. You want, you repel what you do not want. There is a sense that what is disliked can be and must be avoided, and what is enjoyed must be enjoyed with exactitude and ferocious intensity. That is the id. But eventually the id comes under assault from the forces of the outside, right? The rules and regulations imposed by family and by culture. It's the beginning of being told no, right? Don't play with your poop, Don't pee all over yourself. Don't do this, don't do that. Don't put your finger in the electric outlet. And I get it, right? We're shaped into place by these external forces of culture and family. And these rules start to again impose constriction upon the id, because the id longs to be unrestrained. The id longs to be without constriction, to express itself fully, to take what it wants, to live without any kind of instructions, right? To be virginal and raw and living in the Garden of Eden, right? And of course, as the forces from the outside, as I've said, start to penetrate the membrane of our being, that becomes what's known as the superego. So that's where guilt comes from, where neurosis comes from, where unhappiness and dissatisfaction comes from, because eventually we are neutered from those external forces. They rob us of our vitality. They rob us of our creativity under the guise of robbing us of our madness and our wildness, under the guise of socialization. We are educated into submission. We are slowly digging our own grave with the assistance of these instructions from the forces of the outside. So that's the superego. And then the ego is that fragile house of cards, that construction, that character structure that you try to build between your desire to express yourself and actualize yourself, exteriorize your inner landscape, and make manifest yourself in your dreams and your yearnings and your longings and so on and so forth. The ego is slowly walking the tightrope between those raw desires. These constricting forces of the outside that constantly say, no, you may not, no, you can't, no, you're not good enough, no, you'll never make it, no, you can't behave this way in public, and no, you can't do this, and no, you can't do that, and no, you can't do this, and no, you can't do that, until we are, especially those of us that aren't able to rebel against this, we are imprisoned, right? And we are often blind to our prisoners. It's the worst kind of jail, is the kind of indentured servitude where you don't really even realize that you're a slave. And when people start to question this dogma, when people start to try to free themselves of this how do I call it? When people try to free themselves of this programming, this cultural program, when people try to dissolve these limiting beliefs and these boundaries that have embedded themselves in every fabric of our being, they become rebels. They become revolutionaries. They become the irradiating bastards. They become the ecstatic poets that stand up on the summit of the mountain and say, I will not take this anymore. And we ennoble those people, and we celebrate those people, and we love how eloquent those people are. We love what's known as the infectiousness of the unconflicted man. We love the Tyler Durdens from Fight Club, or the Bodhi character from Point Break. We love those free spirits who remind us of the freedom that we have given up. They remind us of the life that we might have lived if we hadn't succumbed to the imposition of limiting beliefs and constrictions from a world that wants to keep you small. And I often am reminded of this when I finally, in spite of myself, slipstream into a state of consciousness in which I am free from my neurosis. And when I am free from my neurosis, life is so much more present, so much more ferocious in its intensity. There's this heightened qualitative intensity, heightened feeling of aliveness, a heightened engagement, a sense of first sight unencumbered by knowingness, transitory enchanted moments that take my breath away, that compel me into states of consciousness in which I am face to face with something commensurate to my capacity for wonder. When I break through those maps and I'm in the territory beyond the maps, it feels like liberation. It feels like visioneering. It feels like divination. And in those moments, I glimpse a world beyond the grid, the matrix of limitations that have been pulled in front of my eyes. And that's why we love those films like The Matrix, and we love those alchemists, those philosopher kings, those that whisper in our ears to escape. So I hope you find your way out of the Truman Show. I hope you find your way back to a more authentic life. I hope you find a pathway to the treasure, at the end of the rainbow. I hope you follow the yellow brick road. I hope you chase the rabbit down the rabbit hole, and I hope you find what you are looking for. Free your mind.